Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're up to part 50 of the emergency storage shed clean out series. There's a couple of things on the bottom of this last shelf unit. Will we get them done today? Depends what's in them. Let's go and have a look. Now it's late in the day, but I wanted to get started on this before it got too dark because we don't actually have any power or lights in this shed at the moment. I will have to hook some up. We're almost creating enough space to need lighting. We've got to finish this shelf off. There's two more boxes underneath. Well, there's one box, and I don't know what the bottom thing is. It looks like it's got a power cord coming out of the end. So we might be able to deal with them both in this episode and get that shelf out of there. So for those new to the channel, I'm cleaning out this emergency storage shed that got moved here in an emergency, hence the name of the shed. A lot of stuff I don't know what's in there because I'm a second-hand dealer and I clean out deceased estates and people's sheds and people's houses, and there's all sorts of stuff. I'm looking forward to getting started on this shelf here because there's some interesting stuff amongst that. There are some CRT TVs, there's an old computer, I don't know what's in the tub at the top, and there's also some boom boxes or similar. So we'll be able to get through those fairly quickly, and I'm pretty interested, well, keen to actually free that shelf up so that I can sort out some of the stuff that I've been sort of, uncovering, and some of it I need to keep because in amongst a recent deal, many of you will know, I found a metal lathe, and I've got a lot of lathe parts put aside until I get all that set up, and I'm running out of room to put that sort of stuff at the moment. So back to the job at hand. Let's get these boxes, or at least this box and whatever the other thing is, through to the bench and we'll check them out. Well, this is another heavy box. I'm amazed those shelves are even still standing. The last heavy box we got from there, last week's episode, over about $260 from memory, worth of old tools. I haven't put them in the shop yet, but I've got them all ready to go. This one looks a bit of a mixed bag. Some tools, certainly some heavy metal stuff, not music. Let's go through it, but I'll grab that other thing first. That's a terrible spot to camp yourself, Coco. And this is even heavier. I think it's some sort of transformer. So it's not a box full of gadgets. It's very heavy. We may just scrap it. We'll do some investigating, but let's go through that other box first. This box looks like it might have been random stuff I threw into one tub when finally cleaning up my other workshop that was behind my shop. I can certainly remember owning that hacksaw. It's been in the weather for some time. This spanner, it's clearly been in the weather a long time. Very rusty on one side. It was quite a good one. It's KC Tools, 1.25 inch. This could have been out of my original set. It's good to have a larger size spanner, and it's still going to work fine even though it's a bit rusty. I might clean that up and keep it because I don't think I've got many spanners here over 1 inch, so we'll keep that one. Here we have a pry bar of some sort. Do I need to keep that? Not sure. We might clean that up. I think it's going to be fairly good quality steel because they didn't make these pry type bars out of cheap steel. Otherwise they just bent very easily. So yeah, we'll check that out. I might give it a clean up. It might even have a brand on it. So I've got to do a bit of checking out of this box. Here we have a tape measure, and it's actually quite usable. But again, it's clearly quite weathered. Still, always handy to have tape measures around. I might keep that one in the van for when I'm out and about. Looks like a spring, but I think this is probably for bending copper pipe. So it would take a fairly large diameter. I reckon it'd take the 3/4 inch size. Certainly bigger than 1/2 inch. And the idea is you thread this over your copper pipe and then you can actually bend the pipe without it kinking. It just gives the whole pipe some support. So I have some other ones of these somewhere, and I don't think I've got one this big. So that's actually a useful tool. We haven't got much to sell yet, have we? What's in this? Interesting. I don't think this was mine. It's a piston ring compressor. And it looks like quite a small one, if it's still in the box, or the box is falling apart. Yeah, it is. They're a really handy gadget. Now, because I was a small engine mechanic, I don't think this was mine. I don't remember the box. Oh, it's got the thing for it as well. So they're just a little ratchet set up, and it's a band of very thin spring steel with another band around it that when you crank this, it feels like it's a bit seized up. it will actually wind it closed, and it will compress the rings into the piston, so that when you're sliding the piston and the ring assembly down into the cylinder, the rings will not break and they'll actually slide into the cylinder. So very handy tool that. I'll certainly keep that because it's the right size for a lot of small engines. It just needs a bit of a clean up and a bit of a lube, and that will be fine. I don't think I need to keep the box for it. Looks like it's a vintage ones, probably 1960s, maybe 70s. It was made in Australia. But I would suggest it's going to be much more handy as a useful tool rather than collectible. I don't think I'll bother keeping the box. Okay, what else have we got in here? We have some soldering irons. I seem to turn these up all the time, and they sell quite well. There's $5 there with a bit of a cleanup. We have some old pliers. It's actually got a broken tip to one of the noses, and it still moves, but I think it's probably only scrap metal. Could, of course, grind the other side down. I might just buff them up. If they're a good brand, it's probably worth modifying them. They still feel like they're going to move okay, and they've got wire cutters in there as well. That's a riveting punch. It says drop forged Greg steel. So that's just for rounding over rivets. Might keep that. I don't have one of those here either. There's a bit of plumber's solder. I've got a box for that for scrap. I've got plenty that I keep, but I don't use a lot of this larger solder, and bits like this I normally throw in a scrap bin. I think the scrap yards would pay a similar price for lead. It's actually, I think, 60% lead, 40% tin, something like that. So just scrap for that one. A little awl. Quite a nice timber handle on it. Yeah, we'll buff that one up. I think it's a saleable piece. We have the blade from a wood plane. Feels like it's got a pretty good edge on it, but again, it's quite rusty. It will be branded, possibly English or something. We might give it a quick buff just to see what brand it is, but I'm not going to go to too much trouble. It may well end up in the dollar box, and someone will love it for that price. Another little riveting punch. A handle of something, possibly just a file handle. That's a handle from a small coping saw. Don't know what happened to the rest of the frame. Might be in here. Another soldering iron, so we'll clean that up again. Probably 5 for that. Whoa, this is a really mixed bag. What's in this little box? Oh, a little socket set. So it has like a large Allen key drive. I don't think the box is any good anymore. Well, I'm sure it's not. Sockets are a bit rusty, but they're a single hex socket. They're probably going to be very good quality steel. We might just check the brands on that. It has got sizes, so we'll clean that up a little bit and have a look. It's easy to buff that up on the wire wheel. That cardboard can just go in the recycling. We have some steel pins here. I don't know what these are off. I think they can just go in the scrap bin. A spanner, and it's branded BSA, which was Birmingham Small Arms, if I remember correctly. And then, of course, they're famous for motorbikes and also push bikes they did as well. I think they did a lot of engineering stuff, but initially they were a firearms company, I think. Anyway, that's quite a nice spanner. That will clean up okay. Good one there. I'll have to check a price on that. I would be thinking $15 to $20. Another spanner here. This is an older Sidchrome. Nice thin one, actually. Yeah, I might hang on to that. It's nice when the jaws aren't very thick for getting in certain spots. Yeah, 5/8, 11/16. Standard imperial size, but a good size spanner, that one. Now, this looks like a spotlight. It's got a bracket on it. Oh, it's an nice old Bosch Germany written on the glass. That's a really nice old light casing. Timber handle. I think these actually mounted, they might have mounted on the guttering on the side of the roof on the older cars. I think some of them you could even put a hole through the roof for spotlighting. So that's a great piece. It doesn't really matter if it works or not because it's a replaceable globe, so you'll be able to get a globe for it. The reflector in there looks okay. It's going to clean up nicely on the outside. We'll give that a wash up. I'm expecting $30 to $40 for that. It's quite a nice piece. It looks really 1950s era. So maybe even a little bit earlier. Excellent, good find. Just some standard tyre wire. I've got enough of that here, so that can just go in the $1 box at the shop. That is a handle. It's been squashed up. And these were designed just to clip over the edges of ceramic plates to make a carrying serving plate from them. Now, they were quite often responsible for chipping the edges of a plate. But if you put them on carefully, they worked well. It will be a silver plate, an EPNS, which is electroplated nickel silver. So the base metal is going to be kind of like a brass. It can go in the brass bin. So that's where that one's going. Scrap brass. A small hammer here. It's a possibly a little panel beater's hammer or a leatherwork hammer or something. Handle doesn't, I think that's been modified actually. Yeah, maybe not. I might just put a little wedge in there, tighten the handle up, give it a little bit of a clean up. We'll get at least $5. Might even get 10. I have a whole box of spanners. Oh, cool. There's some good stuff in here. Here's some sheep shears. These are the smaller version. Probably more like a pair of crutching shears for just cleaning up around the back end of sheep. It's branded. It'll probably be English. The tips of it look a bit damaged. Some people use these around the garden. They're great for shearing grass in tight spots. They guillotine very well. Don't get your fingers in there. I usually get $10 to $15 for these because this one's a bit rough and a bit rusty. Yeah, we'll give it a quick wash up. I'm not going to buff it or anything, but we might get 10 if it cleans up nicely. Alright, God, yeah, lots of tools. Alright, various spanners. I won't go through them all unless they're really interesting. That's a Sid Chrome ring spanner. We have a ratchet here, Sid Chrome ratchet. It's an older style with the flick over lever there. Some of the Sid Chrome tools, the vintage ones, the made in Australia ones, which that one is, you can get pretty good money. These will clean up fairly well just with some steel wool. I'm not going to buff them all, it'll take too long. There's a cute little shifter. It's a Davidat. I think you pronounce it with a V, even though it says D-O-W-I-D-A-T. My German pronunciation isn't very good. That's a cute little shifter. I think we'll give that a buff up for sure. That's going to be at least $10. I think this is known as a crow's foot spanner. It's for undoing head studs in awkward situations. You can put your socket in there. In fact, there's our ratchet. And you can undo head studs without having to get the spanner down to the same level, because usually you're working amongst valve springs and that sort of stuff. That is a Sid Chrome one as well. I think that's going to be at least $10. A modified spanner. Many mechanics modified spanners to get into awkward situations in certain jobs. Some of the more organised mechanics would label it and say, you know, this suits a 1973 Honda motorbike valve tappet nut or something like that. Totally random suggestion there, but yeah, a lot of spanners were modified. I don't think I need to keep that one. It's a quality one. What brand is it? Steinelder. It's German. We might just put that in the dollar box. Someone will snap that up for sure. So a lot of spanners here. That's Sid Chrome. Good old quality spanners. More Sid Chrome. That's a very thin one. What's that one say? Herbrand, another German one, I think. It's a tappet spanner. It's actually labelled as such. So a nice thin spanner there. Sid Chrome, all a bit surface rusty. Sid Chrome, chrome manganese, Nubo. I don't know that one. Yeah, we'll give them. I'll wash them up at least with some steel wool and soapy water because it doesn't take long to give them a scrub. I'm not going to buff them all on the buffing wheel. It'll take too long to do that. I think that's an arm from a puller, and there would have been a few of them possibly. I don't know if they're in here. We have some brass, just a airline junction, all brass there. That's probably a bicycle spanner. Don't know if there's a brand on that or not. Little compass, engineer's compass, screwdriver, more spanners. That's a King Dick, quite a well-known brand of English spanner. I think it's English. And another Steinalder. So maybe we could group some of them together. What's that brand? They're all good brands. There's no made in China or made in India stuff here. Heiko, I don't know that brand. Nice ring spanner. And I can't even read that. It's a little bit grubby. It's drop forged. Maybe that's a cheaper one actually. As soon as I mention there's no cheaper spanners, we dig one out. Not sure on that. Another ring spanner, that's Sidchrome. Another Sidchrome one, that's Whitworth, so they're often handy. That will sell well. At least $10 on a Whitworth one. Although I will keep a selection of Whitworth ones here. That one doesn't look to have a brand. It is a Whitworth spanner though. Australian made Sidchrome again. Some good quality spanners. Made in England, Brit Tool. That's a nice spanner. Look how thick the metal is around the end of the... Oh, that's a interesting design too. It looks like a quality spanner, that. I will do some checking on some of these on eBay, ones that I haven't heard of. An older Sidchrome again. Nice thin one again. Someone mentioned in my last video that it's worth checking tools on eBay, and it certainly is. Another Sidchrome one. Because some spanners can bring hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But most of these ones I've seen before. There's a little, it's not feeler gauges, it's just little, I think they're probably little wires for cleaning out nozzles on oxy torches and that sort of stuff. Yeah, different size nozzles. So that's probably handy actually. It's branded as well. Yeah, we'll give that a clean up, but that one might be worth keeping here. We have some punches. I've got a tin of punches in the shed here, and I'm always looking for those. There's a hollow punch, great for making your own gaskets and things. I think we got a set of those recently actually. Don't know what the pin's out of. It's probably been just used as a punch. Some large wing nuts. So more Sidchrome spanners. This is going to take me a while to clean up. A chainsaw file. A tiny little spanner here. 7/32 and a quarter. That's like a little magneto spanner. Some bolts, a couple of fuses. Oh, another spanner, a bit rusty down the bottom. A deep reach socket. That's a Whitworth one again. I can't read the brand on it. We might clean that one up. More fuses. Another punch. Another socket tool there. Another modified spanner. Quite rusty, that one, unfortunately. And, oh, what's in the corner? We're in the money. 10 cents. So I think that cardboard box can just go in the recycling with the other bits I had before. Another bit of wire for scrap. We have a carpenter's hammerhead. Doesn't look to be particularly good quality. I'll just put that in the dollar box at the shop. We have a clamp for a vulcanizer. It says use Dunlop refills. Dunlop I don't know how to say that. It's some sort of French name. Must have been a company associated with Dunlop. If you've never seen one of these vulcanizers work, yes, you could use this with the glue as well, but the vulcanized patches are great. You used to actually, it had some highly volatile compound on one side that you'd light with a match and it would burn across like a slow controlled explosion, I guess you'd call it. And the heat would vulcanize the rubber underneath onto the tyre tube and seal it. And you had that wonderful smell of like gunpowder through the shed for the rest of the day. They're pretty cool. I don't think you can buy them anymore. I think they were banned for environmental reasons. I did find some in a tin here recently, and I've put them aside. I will actually demonstrate one just for old time's sake, because they were really cool how they worked, and I remember Dad doing it, repairing car tubes and whatnot in the farm workshop years ago. So I'd like to do one just for old time's sake, so I'll put that aside. As far as value goes, it's probably about a $10 vulcanizing clamp. We have a broken pruning saw here. Don't think there's much value there at all. Another Sid chrome spanner. A sharpening stone, but well used, well worn, and a bit broken. But still, it's probably, we could probably put $5 on that. It's a cool old piece. Another, I think that's like a brooch, a tapered piece with very sharp edges on it for enlarging a hole, where you just hand turn it and gradually work your way in. It actually makes the hole larger. And I'm going to buy a set of small brooches for clock repairs. That one's too big, but that's what it would be. Here we have a large tyre lever. We only have the one, unfortunately. Sometimes these are actually branded Dunlop or something, but I think that's $5. Another big Sid chrome spanner. We've got a good lot of Sid chrome spanners. A drill with a Morse taper fitting on it. I don't think a drill is much good. Another little piece of wire. And that's the end of our box. Well, I've got some cleaning up to do. I'll get back to you soon. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you guys. That took a long time to clean up. I spent a couple of hours really scrubbing the spanners up. They come up fantastic. You wouldn't believe it's the same group of spanners, actually. So all I did was the soapy warm water and the stainless steel scouring pad, just that. And it's amazing how well it cleans up. And then once I'd cleaned them all, I just gave them a quick spray with just WD-40. And yes, that's an old can. It came out of someone's shed years ago. That's where I get all most of my workshop consumables. It's kind of nice. I don't have to spend money on them. All right, what have we got here? Well, I must admit I'm keeping quite a bit. And I do have to apologise. There was a few mistakes I made in the first section. I've done a bit of checking. Let's just scroll through them before we look at the notepad. A little bit of hardware there, the soldering irons. The stone is a... I always get confused saying this, carborundum. So it's a sharpening stone. It's a bit worn, but it's a nice handle. I went for $10 on that. The sheep shears cleaned up much better than I expected, and they're an English brand. They've actually got a logo of a sword on it. I've never ever seen sheep shears that weren't made in England. They're all Sheffield steel, and yet shearing is such an Aussie thing. I mean, I know they shear sheep elsewhere, but it's kind of, it just speaks Australian to me. But I don't know if Aussies ever made sheep shears. Let me know if you know that they did. That bike spanner's pretty cool. It hasn't got a brand on it. The BSA spanner's in great condition, and I thought it might have been a military one. It looked like a broad arrow, but it's actually the early BSA symbol of 3 rifles propped together. I guess that dates it back to their firearm making days. Nice spanner that. I think I went for $20. The little hammer, I think it's a cobbler's hammer, and it's nicely branded on the top. And I think the brand, it was a bit hard to read, but I think it's Ullathorne, London. And I found a few of those selling for pretty good money on eBay, so I think I upped the price on that one to about $15. The Sid chrome ratchet's quite worn in the shaft there, but I still get $10 for that. This little hex socket set cleaned up really nicely. I thought it was quite rusty, and yet it just, I guess it's really good quality steel, and it's been blued, which is a method of protecting the steel from rusting. And it's a great little condition. There's no brand on it, but I think that's easily a $5 little socket set. Our $1 stuff here, these pliers cleaned up quite well. They're a Sheffield brand, and looking at it, I'm not even sure if that's broken. Do they make pliers with one nose shorter than the other for a special use? I don't know. It'd be easy to grind the other one down to match it, I guess, but I'm not going to bother. I'm going to put that in a $1 box, and someone will be wrapped with their $1 purchase. A little bit of scrap there. These spanners all cleaned up well. Now, I did think earlier that her brand was a German brand. It's actually USA, and I think I knew that. So that's the tappet spanner. Also, these other Sidchrome spanners are known as tappet spanners because they're quite thin. I'm going to hang on to those ones, and I'll talk about what I'm keeping in a minute. I think all the other brands, the Nubo one, I saw some referred to them as a British brand and someone else said the US, but this actually has Germany printed somewhere. It says foreign on that end, and in fine print somewhere else it says Germany. So these are my $10 spanners. I valued those at $10 each. The Heiko one is a Japanese brand. And then some of these others, well, there's a couple of her brand ones there. This one I couldn't read as a Japanese brand. It's Sankey. Don't know much about that one. And the ones that were bent and rusty, actually I straightened them out on the anvil. I just gave them a couple of thumps with the hammer and they straightened out pretty well. That one's Genbro, which is a UK brand. This one's Dreadnought. I've seen a Dreadnought one before, but I assume they're British again. Cute little spanner. I pronounced these Stein Adler ones wrong. I think I said Stein Elder, but it says Stein Adler. So these are all $5 spanners, some basic Sidchrome ones as well. And the ones I'm keeping, oh, the spotlight cleaned up pretty well too, as you can see. A little bit sort of, it would probably clean up better, but it's very presentable. A little bit of oxidization to the chrome. This little Davidat, I'm not really good at pronouncing that, is such a cute little 4-inch shifter. It works beautifully. There's hardly any wear to the jaws, so I'm keeping that. These Sidchrome ones I'm going to keep. They're all the Australian made ones. I'd like to get a couple of complete sets of the Australian made Sidchromes. So these 3 ring spanners are all the same size, so I guess I could probably nearly sell one of them, but I thought I'd just throw them all in a box until I can make up a couple of sets. Some of these I will sell down the track anyway. So that's all those ones. This one I got wrong. I thought it was like for pricking a nozzle to keep the nozzle clear I mentioned earlier. It's actually a spark plug gauge, so it is like a feeler gauge, but they use wire instead. And I haven't actually seen one of those before. I've seen different sorts of spark plug gauges, but not one like that. It's actually marked Champion, so I will hang on to that for now. I think it's probably a $10 piece though. And these ones I caught, well, the first one I thought was an awl. They're actually all brooches, and they have a little collet type chuck there. So I probably will hang on to those too. They could be very handy. This compass is a Moore and Wright, and I've mentioned them before. They're a renowned engineers tools company, engineering tools. That will clean up better than it is, and I feel I should keep that when I get into a bit of lathe work and metal work. And these rivet punches are quite expensive. I've found a few of these online, and every one of them sold for at least $30. So I mentioned earlier I didn't have any, so I'll keep those. They're different sizes. So really, the stuff I'm keeping is almost the same value as the stuff I'm selling. So let's look at the notepad. And we have $270 from the box that I'm going to sell, and I estimate there's at least $200 that I'm keeping. So that box was nearly a $500 box. What a treasure chest of tools. Oh, and I didn't mention these levers, and I think that's off a puller. I'm going to hang on to them for now because you never know when you need a good lever, and if I get too many of that sort of stuff, well, I'll either scrap them or sell them, but I'm going to hang on to them for now, as well as a few other bits we went through. So what a great haul. That takes our total out of that shed to almost $8,500, nearly $500 worth. There probably would be when I include the ring compressor, because I would have priced that up a bit if I was going to sell it. So a fantastic box to find at the bottom of that shelf unit. We're going to have to carry over that transformer thing because this video has gone long enough. So episode 51, we will move that shelf out of the room, create some more space, and we'll have a look at that transformer and see what we should do with it. Scrap it, test it, sell it, don't know. We'll check it out then. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you in the next video. Bye for now.